So the purpose of this video is to create a very simple Dash application and publish it to Heroku for free. And Dash is a library by Plotly. It's a library, they have it, I believe, in R2, but I'm going to use the Python version. And the only thing you need to do this is your Python. Just have Python installed, and then if you have an IDE, that it'll be better, but you could do this also with a simple text editor. So the Google Dash Plotly documentation, they have a user guide on how to build a very simple application. And also interesting, they have in What's Dash is an app gallery. So you can see some of the things that you can do with Dash. And of course, it's really dependent on how good you can do styling, because it requires a lot of CSS to get an application of this sort on. But you can get the sense that it's pretty powerful and it makes you want to work on it for a while. Like actually here you can, this is like something that is moving and generating data and showing it at the same time. Dash is, as they say, it is based on Flask framework, which is a it's a Python web server, web framework, and they also use React for their front end. Now, if we go to the Dash tutorial, you're going to see installation is basically just have this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project on PyCharm, and I'll publish the code on GitHub for your reference. If you don't have PyCharm, I recommend it, but you can, of course, use Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text if you like. Whatever IDE is great. There you go. I'm gonna say create a new project. And I'll do it on my desktop so that it's easier. And I'll name it Heroku demo. One thing that I'll do is create a new virtual environment so that this will help me a lot once we want to update this to Heroku, because you want to update your app, upload your app to a server, and you need to tell that server exactly what packages you need and what packages you needed to install to run your application. So make sure you're using a virtual environment. If you're doing this on a text editor, you can download pip install virtual env and then create a new one. So let's see, create. Cool. So we have our project and there's our virtual environment. Let's create a new file. And they recommend using app.py. That's where you're going to have all the Python code. And then in our terminal, you can see that we're working on a virtual environment. So if I do like a pip freeze, this will tell me all the packages that I have installed. It should come out empty. Yeah, because we have nothing installed. So it says install -1, this last version. So install -1.12. It's take a while, and let's see, in the meantime, let's see how to make our first Dash app. So the first thing that they explain is their layout. So the app, you initialize it like this, you instantiate it, or however you want to call it, and they have this external, this like sample style sheet that is a very basic style sheet they offer. These are the components that they ask you to, like the basic components that they're gonna use. And then basically, if you see, this is like an HTML, like, you know, like the same kind of children to father structure, like a drill down. So you have a div, and then inside the div you have a header, another div, and a graph. And in the end, and this is, if you've ever worked with bottle or flask, this is very like same. So if we copy all this and we just put it on our app.py, it should work once it stops installing, which it might take a little bit. It's gonna install all the requirements, which include, you know, Flask and I believe Unicorn and all that. Flask, Plotly, and a bunch of other Dash components. Okay, so I've installed Dash, and now we can do pip freeze. And you see it installed a bunch of packages. Yep. Now, let's see. Now we have the app. All we need to do is run it. So we don't have a configuration. Why is my computer so slow today? Sorry about that. Okay, so we're running the code, and you'll see that it's going to start the server, and it's going to tell me it's running on this location. And this is the first, your first Dash app. Cool, right? Now, if you see what's going on, there's, as I said, there's like a div. There's no styling, any styling whatsoever, but it's a div and a header, basically a paragraph that's here. And then they create a graph, and it's just a figure. And of course, you have to read more into, like, if you want to do a bar graph, if you want to do a scatter plot. Basic like it's gonna be a bar graph, and you give in this case, we're not even reading data or anything, we're just giving it. So if I change this to 10, for example, file, it's gonna refresh the server. So now you can see that I changed this and it's 10. Okay, so imagine you build an awesome app, and I mean, this is Python. You can do everything. You can import all your, like sklearn packages and do some machine learning, do some predictions. You can do anything you can do on Python, you can do it here. And of course, remember that you're using a virtual environment. So if you have I would have to install pandas and NumPy and everything that I want. Okay, so we have, imagine you build your awesome app. Now we want to upload it and show it to the world. That's what we use Heroku for. And Heroku, it's a cloud service for apps, and you would have to sign up for free. Of course, I already have an account. So once you have your account, it's gonna look something like this. And here's all the apps I have. And remember, uploading an app is for free, but it does have a lot of limitations. Of course, if you want to get over those limitations, then you have to pay. And for example, one of the things is that if you're not using the paid version, your server is going to go to sleep after, I believe it's an hour. And when you call it, whenever you call it, it's going to restart. So it'll take a long time. It'll take all the time that it takes to restart. And then it'll stay, as long as you use it. But if you stop using it for an hour, then this is going to definitely go back to sleep again. So you'll have to download the Heroku client, and that is, let's see, Heroku client, or another tab. So this will let you basically work with the Git repo and upload your code via Git. So once you have installed and once you have your app, let's go to the terminal, right? And you can do Heroku login. So please do anything, and then you say, oh, sorry, that was quick. So you can do anything and it'll pop up a login. So you can log in. Now that's done. You're logged in as your account. And what you want to do is create an app. So you're going to say Heroku, create, and then the name of your app, which is, let's say, dash Heroku demo. So it created it's a container and a repository at the same time. This is going to be your URL, and if you go there right now, there's nothing, of course. I mean, they have like some basic stuff, and this is going to be your repository. Now, next thing you want to do is you want to create a repository within your local folder. So you got to do git init, right? And then git status. Of course, you don't want any of that, the IDE folder or the virtual environment folder. So you're going to have to create a new file called ignore, git ignore. And I'm just copying this from some other project I have. These are some IDEs, and then we want also to avoid your virtual environment, and that's going to be your slash them. So once you have your git ignore and you check your status again, you're gonna check that, yeah, of course you'll have your git ignore, but then it's not looking at the virtual environment or the IDE folder. Now that you have that, and of course that's not entirely necessary, but you don't have a lot of space on Heroku, so you don't wanna put unnecessary stuff in there. Okay, so now that I have a good status, I can add it all, git commit, and then this will be our initial commit. So here we created the app, and I'm sorry I'm all over the place, but I didn't really plan this video. Heroku remote dash Heroku demo. Sorry, git remote no, yeah, I gotta research this. What was it? Heroku commands. Okay, sorry about that. I found it. So it's Heroku git remote and then the name of your app, which is dash Heroku demo. So now my remote repository is set to the repository on Heroku. And all I need to do is push my changes. So you're gonna see, push rejected, true. So the other thing that we need is, Heroku needs a couple of files to know, first of all, what type of app, because you can upload a Python, a PHP, basically anything. I don't know. Most codes he'll accept. So you have to give him an idea. And for that, it requires a file called proc file. And all of these you can just copy from my template, which I'll link in the description below. And then the profile is doesn't have any extension. It's just gonna have this. Right? Then the other detail you're gonna need to upload and have it work on Heroku is gonna be here where you instantiate. You want to create a variable called server and make sure you point it to the server. If you want, you can also add a title. So that'll be the title of your HTML. That will be enough. Okay, the last thing you're gonna need is you're gonna have to pass a list of requirements. You gotta tell Heroku what packages you need him to install. And for that, since we're using a virtual environment, we can do this, and that's why I recommend it. Because otherwise, if you do pip freeze on your base Python interpreter, then you're going to get all the packages that you've ever installed on your computer on the main Python. So if I do pip freeze and write it into requirements, it's gonna create, that's fine, that's weird. It should create a new, there it is. a new file called requirements.txt, and it's going to have all these nice packages with their exact version. So that guarantees that your app is going to work exactly the way you're testing it on your server. So once you have those two, you can check status and then add it to your Git, and then you can commit. Okay. So once you have your commit, you can try again, git push. This yellow code is the first time I've ever seen my the terminal going yellow. Git push Heroku master. And now it says, you can see it says Python app detected. It's installing Python 3.6.10. It's downloading all the requirements and installing them. And it deployed to our website. Okay, so now we can go to our website, and there's an application error, of course. Let's see. So one of the options they give you is Heroku logs.tail. And sometimes that's the most unuseful thing in the world, because it just tells you app crashed. It doesn't tell you. I mean, it depends on the error, but like if it's an error that you're clicking something and it goes into an error, it'll show up here well, but it doesn't show anything. You can see is that it went from starting to crashed. And I believe, well, it's actually not so unuseful. I believe is that we haven't installed Unicorn. Let me double check. And yes, I believe that is the problem. So Unicorn is going to be the service that's going to maintain the app running, which is weird because it usually comes in with Flask, I thought. Let's exit. So we can pip install Unicorn. Oops. And we can do pip freeze requirements again. And now it has a bunch of other stuff. Oh, yeah, that's not very good. I guess it's with one arrow will do. Yeah. Okay, so that'll overwrite it. You can see that our requirement tag set file, so just oops. Oh, sorry, git commit, wait, git add. Okay, now I can do pip push Heroku master. And hopefully that'll work. Okay, so our app was deployed again, and of course, It takes a while when you change the requirement, but if I just change the code, it'll take all the packages from cache, so it'll take a little less time. Still a little bit time consuming. And here we are. That's our Heroku application, and sorry, dash application on Heroku. And Heroku gives you this subdomain name. So it'll give you, your app name .herokuapp.com. But even with the and this has a oh, certificate. But I've used the free versions like this one to and put my domain, personal domain on it. Bad thing is that you will not, I mean, you can, for free, you can point your domain to here, but you will not have a certificate because, I mean, unless you buy your own certificate. So if you pay the simple version, which is $7 a month, you'll get a free certificate. But of course, doing it yourself, it's cheaper, just a little more complicated. Well, that's about it. Thank you for watching the video, and email me if you have any questions.